Hi everyone, and tonight I'm going to talk about 3 things that I find that people really struggle when they're starting to learn the Japanese language. Now, these things aren't necessarily the same thing that you struggle with, but these are some things that are common that people really struggle with when they start learning Japanese. The first one is listening, and this is a big one. And the reason why I say that is, as I talk about in one of my books, what I wish I'd known before learning Japanese, is that when you start learning Japanese, you're given a new brain. And this brain is your Japanese brain. So what that means is it's empty. Like a baby's brain, there's not much in there. And so listening is one of the key things for you to help fill it up and to put information in there so that you can start linking it to other bits of information. The more information you have in Japanese in your brain, the more you can learn and the quicker you can learn. When you start off, there's not much there, so it takes quite a bit of time to actually learn things. And listening is one of the coolest ways that you can do that. Now, when I say listen, I don't mean listen that you understand everything, because that's not going to work when you first start learning Japanese. But what you can do is you can just start listening. And it's important to listen to as much as you can. Try to listen to something every single day so that you can get your ears used to hearing the Japanese sounds. Because when you start listening, when you first start Japanese, you're going to think, why do people speak so fast? I have no idea what they're saying. And the reason why you don't know what they're saying is because your ears simply aren't used to the words that are coming out. And the same is for a baby. It takes time for a baby's ears to understand what we're doing. Yes, we can use our hands and gestures and facial expressions, but ultimately, when a baby starts to understand what certain sounds mean, it's then able to mimic that, copy it, and then give that back. And that's when a baby starts to progress really quickly. When they start to understand that this means this, they can then say, oh, if I say that, I can get that too. And so listen as much as you can. Now, if you're thinking, I don't live in Japan, it's hard to listen every day. Well, fortunately, you live in an amazing era when you can access almost anything, anytime, wherever you want. And there's so many cool ways you can listen. One of them is Apple Music, or there's other music apps you can download, but Apple Music is one I use, and I can listen to any music in almost any language whenever I want. So I have created for myself a big Japanese playlist, and I keep listening and finding more and more and adding to it. But just listening to music. Find music that you like and listen to it. And as you listen to it, you'll start to understand bits of words while you're studying. The other cool thing is, when you're listening, you can tap the artist and you can see all the lyrics. So that way you can also read along. You can sing if you want, hey, go for it. But you can listen and read while you're listening. So that's a really cool way that you can help improve your listening skills. Another one is watching dramas, TV shows, or just YouTube, Instagram movies, etc. And it goes on and on and on. Social media is full of stuff from Japan. And so finding places where you can listen and then listening regularly will really help you learn Japanese so much quicker. And so that's one of the points. The other thing that people really struggle with is reading. This is a big one. When you start learning Japanese, you will start off with learning hiragana. Then your teacher will most likely suggest you learn katakana. And they are the bases to your Japanese ability to read. So hiragana is like your base foundation that you need to have when you start learning Japanese. Then add katakana. Then once you're comfortable with those two, then add kanji. And I actually have a course and a book that goes into kanji and a whole heap of simple steps that you can use to simply learn kanji. Kanji is not difficult. I want to say that again. Kanji is not difficult. The biggest problem I find with kanji is the way it's being taught. And it's often taught in a complicated method that makes it really hard for people to understand and learn. So if you are interested in learning more about how to learn kanji more efficiently, click on the link below and it'll actually take you to my website where you can download a copy of my book, or you can grab the course and actually go into more depth in how to learn kanji in a lot more simple method. I don't really have time in this video to go through that, but one of the things is understand kanji isn't hard, it's the way you look at it. And the other thing is to take kanji slow. Pull it apart, get to know what the character is, and then slowly build your kanji. One of the things I find people really try to do is they grab a character and they try and learn all the readings and understand all the meanings all at once. In Japan, when you learn kanji, when children learn kanji in Japan, I should say, they actually don't learn all of the readings at once. They learn the character, they learn how to write it, and then they might learn one way to read it. Then a month or 2 months later, they learn the second way to read it. Sometimes it can be a lot later that they'll learn the other way. Some kanji, you don't learn the other readings till you get to high school. And the reason is they don't want to confuse the students. And so when you're learning kanji, think of that. Remember, you don't have to learn how to read it in all the different ways. Some kanji have more than 11 ways to read them. So, don't even try to learn all the ways. Pick one or two. I recommend learning at least one onyomi and then the kunyomi, and then build slowly upon it. And when you get to another way to read a kanji, just add that to your knowledge of how to read that kanji. And so don't feel like you have to stress about learning kanji. Take your time, learn it one character at a time. Kanji isn't hard. It's just the way we look at it. Now, the third thing I find people really struggle with when they are learning Japanese and when they come to Japan especially is the culture. And you've probably heard the saying, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. That applies for Japan. When in Japan, do as the Japanese do. Think as the Japanese think. Now, I'm not saying you have to become Japanese. And that's a big thing. Don't become Japanese. Keep your culture. Share your culture and love your culture. I think that's really important that you don't throw your culture away and say, look, I am in Japan, so I have to become Japanese. No. As a foreigner, you're always going to be a foreigner. No matter what you do, you will never be accepted as a Japanese person. So, don't even try to become a Japanese person. Instead, embrace the culture, but keep your own culture and enjoy sharing your culture with other people. And then help other people to also learn about your culture and understand it. And this will really help you to not become too stressed while you're in Japan. The other thing is to enjoy learning about the Japanese culture. It's such a complicated culture. Now, on the surface, it looks quite simple. It's very polite and there's different rules and things you need to follow. But the more you start to look into the culture, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So, a bit like kanji, don't try and learn it all at once. Just take it one step at a time. Because when you do something and someone corrects you, that's a perfect cultural learning experience. Simple things like when you walk into a house, someone will quickly tell you to take your shoes off. And bam, that's one thing you can add to your culture list. Don't do that. Next, when you go to the toilet, don't wear your slippers into the toilet. Don't wear the toilet slippers out of the toilet. Those little things you will slowly learn. And I'm actually putting together a whole series of cultural experiences that I've come across while I've been in Japan. But this is a process and it's going to take quite a few more months to get this all together. So far, I'm over 100 different things about the culture that I've learned. And it's growing daily. The more I live in Japan, the more I experience the culture and the more I talk to other people, the bigger and bigger and bigger this is getting. It's kind of exciting. It's exciting to learn about the culture. And that's one of the cool things. Once you've learned something, go out and share that with people. Help other people understand the Japanese culture. And the more you understand the culture, that is going to help you better learn the language. Because you'll understand why they use these words when they do. You'll understand what this means. And that's one of the things they talk about in Japan when they're teaching English. That is, don't just teach the language, teach the English culture. Now, the English culture is a lot more complicated than the Japanese culture. Because the English culture is not just England. It's America, Australia, New Zealand, Canada. It's India, it's Singapore. It's any culture or any country that speaks English has its own culture. And so when you start to teach the English culture, it gets really big and very complicated. So like learning kanji, take it one step at a time. Share what you learn, help other people also learn about what you learn and really enjoy the learning process. Don't become too stressed about it. Set some goals, decide, okay, this week, this month, this is what I'd like to learn about Japanese. This is what I'd like to learn about Japan. And then go ahead and do it. Now, if you don't achieve your goals, don't worry too much. Step back, reassess how you did, and then just keep moving one step at a time forward. Japan is an amazing place. I love living here. And it's a dream that I had as a 14-year-old student to come and live in Japan. And I'm pretty lucky that I get to live here and I get to experience the language and the culture in depth. And that's why I'm creating these videos, to help other people then also learn about it. Because the more you know about the language, the more you know about the kanji, the hiragana, the katakana, the history, the culture, etc., the quicker and the more you can learn. So the more you know, the more you can learn. And that's one of the cool things about learning anything, actually. So if you'd like to know more about my courses or book or whatever, click on the link below. You'll find my website. Jump onto the website and have a look through the kind of things I'm sharing, because it is my goal to really help people learn Japanese in a natural, fun way. Now, you'll notice in my book, or actually all of my books, and also the courses, is that I'm not teaching the Japanese language. Rather, it's my goal to give people the tools so that they can learn the language. If you want to learn the Japanese language, there are literally hundreds and thousands of videos on YouTube. You can do that. But if you want to learn the tools, there's actually not that many people out there sharing them. And that's what I'm trying to do. Help people learn the tools so then you can learn by yourself. Then you can go ahead and use those tools effectively and help improve your language. Okay, have fun. Remember, relax and enjoy learning the language.